In this episode, we'll be looking at a written exercise I learned from my grandmother. It's especially suitable as a starting point to create a finer connection and communication between rider and horse. Like all of my exercises, it should be ridden with a snaffle or a halter and without spurs or a whip. I do allow an exception with a whip at the very beginning. Unfortunately, there are horses that have been dulled so badly they hardly respond to the leg anymore. In such cases, it can be useful to give a light tap with a whip for the first few minutes. Once the rider has developed the necessary body control, tone, and has learned the correct aids, nobody needs a whip anymore. A short note here. Riders who have long been used to driving their horse forward with spurs and whip, who cannot bring it into trot or canter without that, they definitely need live riding lessons. Not because they are bad riders, but because in such moments they need someone right there to tell them what the correct aid should be. These patterns are usually so deeply ingrained and so difficult to unlearn that without a trainer's personal presence, it will be nearly impossible. Speaking of which, I assume you've been all practicing the exercises from the last episode? Perfect. If not, start now. Even if it doesn't feel like fun at first, it really does change your riding at the core. Before we get to my grandmother's exercise, here's my first piece of advice. Today, approach your horse differently. Whether you have to drive to the stable, cycle, walk, or whether your horse lives at home with you, take 5 minutes before greeting your horse just for yourself. Simply breathing.
Inhale and exhale.
Let go of any negative thoughts and tension and focus on your breath and your body. As a kind of mantra, you might think, I radiate calm, serenity, love, and joy. 5 minutes are enough. Afterwards, you'll not only feel calmer and more centered, but you will also have an entirely different effect on your horse compared to jumping out of your car stressed after work. I can only recommend this for every rider. When you greet your horse, ask how it's doing and then really listen. Of course, your horse won't start talking back, but it will appreciate that you're taking the time and quietness to pay attention to it. The guiding thought while grooming and tacking today should be, I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm clear, I'm kind, I'm grateful to be with my horse. Once you've finished grooming, settling, and so on, do these 3 exercises. They warm up your body and prepare it for your ride. Then mount and begin riding in a walk on a long rein. Feel free to include the changes of direction from episode 2, steering only through focus, seat, and concentration without rein aids. Once your horse is warmed up, you can begin with the following exercise. Anyone can try it, and ideally it will give both your horse and yourself a completely new feeling for riding, especially if you have a horse that has been dulled by people. But every horse and rider pair will end this exercise with a new lightness and a smile. First, concentrate on your horse's steps. Try to really feel each leg and each hoof. Then visualize the following sequence. 10 steps walk, 5 strides, snail slow trot, back to 10 steps walk. Once you've pictured it, put it into practice, either around the arena or on a circle. Your knees are turned slightly inward and rest softly against the horse. The lower leg hangs relaxed. The rider's core muscles are activated. Reminder, shorten the distance between your last rib and your hip bone without rounding your back and keep your shoulders relaxed. The reins are loose. Count 10 steps. On the 11th, think slow trot. Imagine your horse lifting in front of you as it starts trotting, and press both calves firmly and evenly against the horse, always starting with the lightest possible aid. No reaction? Take the leg away, then again with slightly more pressure. With dulled horses, it's important at the beginning to trot on with clear determination. With very sensitive horses, a light touch of the calf is more than enough. Trot must be really slow motion, otherwise you won't manage the downward transition. 5 to 6 slow strides, then back to walk. To come back to walk, think walk, gently bring your ears back, and of course use your voice if you like. That's very helpful at the beginning. Soften your energy. Most importantly, stay focused on every single movement of your horse. Already prepared to slow down at the 4th trot stride so that by the 6th you are in walk again. Then trot on again exactly after the 10th walk step. At the beginning, it's fine to take a few more steps or strides. That's not an issue at all. For now, it's only about developing the fine coordination needed to transition between walk and trot without using the reins. Ideally, the exercise is written without rein aids. That's the goal. Of course, it won't work perfectly the first time, but practice makes perfect. Later, when reins are in your hands again, their length must not change during the exercise. They should create only the lightest or no contact. Tips. Already think about the next transition always 1 or 2 steps in advance, so you hit the moment precisely. To trot, imagine very slow trot. Don't chase your horse. 5 or 6 strides aren't much. Practice this exercise for a maximum of 10 minutes, better less. Stop as soon as a few transitions go well, equally on both reins. Most horses understand quickly what it's about and will start to offer the transitions themselves. That's why it's so important to count the exact number of steps and strides and sometimes vary the number. As simple as it sounds, it takes some practice before it works smoothly. Don't get discouraged, because once this exercise succeeds for you and your horse, you've already made a huge step towards refined riding. Being able to control and feel the horse's forelegs without using reins is an extremely important achievement for any rider. Not least because it avoids a lot of accidental interference with the horse's jaw and tongue, and thus prevents many blockages in that area. If the exercise works well, you can also ride it on the second track, in serpentines or on a circle, and of course also on a hack. And here are a few words on training in general. We want to build a relationship of friendship with our horse. And that only works if we ourselves are kind. For that, self-reflection is essential. If I'm stressed or in a bad mood, I don't ride. Then I take the horse for a walk, let it run, or simply muck out the stable. We should also always remember that horses can have good days and not so good days too. I pay close attention to whether my horse is attentive and cheerful, or whether it runs away on the pasture, pins its ears, or shows other signs of discomfort. If I sense that my horse isn't in the best of moods, I just go for a relaxed hack. If it fits, I can even do the exercises on a hack, of course. Why not? I can only recommend that in any case, because nothing is more boring for a horse than going around in circles day after day in an indoor or outdoor arena. It has no positive training effect either. Besides, it makes no sense to try working on fine, friendly communication if the horse is visibly not in the mood and you'd have to force it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't ride just because your horse doesn't come running joyfully from the pasture. That would be silly. But for this special kind of work, a well-rested, motivated horse is simply the better choice, at least at the beginning. One more thing is crucial. You must be absolutely certain that your horse isn't suffering from pain, unsuitable tack, or blockages. All of these will undermine the point of the exercises. I don't know if any of you have ever had a blocked joint or vertebra yourself, but when it's in the spine, and especially in the cervical vertebrae, it can have very direct effects on the mind. I know countless horses that were considered difficult, grumpy, or unpredictable until an undetected restriction in the cervical spine was resolved, and suddenly they were entirely different horses, calm, happy, confident, attentive. Of course, there are countless other physical issues that can cause similar problems, but here we are focusing on the rider's influence, so I'll just mention it as a reminder. Make sure your horse's physical health and freedom of movement are ensured if you want to ride it. Another example would be arthritis in the cervical spine, or ECVM. Both are among the leading causes of unrideability in all its forms. If you're interested, let me know. I'd be happy to create a separate part or episode on that. For now, I wish you lots of joy practicing. I look forward to your feedback, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Until then, all my love to you and your horses.